All right, let's go ahead and create our recycle view adapter. So click there, say new, and I'm going to call this face detector or detection adapter. That's totally fine. So extends, let's close this down, extends recycler view, and you can see now we are using Android X. This is really good, right? We don't see any other kind of namespaces here. So we want the recycler view adapter like that, dot adapter. And I'm going to pass our face dot view holder, which we haven't created. All right, let's go ahead and implement all those methods. And we're going to create our beautiful view holder class. There we go. This will extend recycler dot view holder as such. And of course, we're going to do the same thing we did, which is add matching constructor as good. Okay, like that. So at this point here, we are going to go and get all of these items inside of our item face. So they're just two text views. Nevertheless, we need to get those. So I'm going to say private. So I'm going to say public text view. And it's going to be text 1, public text view, text 2. Obviously, it'd be nice to have better names, but this is just a quick example here, and we don't have a very complex user interface, so that works for us. And at this point here, I'm going to go ahead and get them. So I'm going to say text1 is equal to item view dot get or find by r.id. So text1, that one there, and text2 item dot find by r.id dot text2. Okay, and that's all. So at the top here, we're going to go ahead and say private. We're going to create a list which will contain all of our face models, face detection model we created. I'm going to call this face model list. And I'm going to also pass our context here because I like passing context. It just makes sense. All right, once we do that, let's go ahead and create a constructor. I'm going to pass those two, and voila. Okay, and let's go ahead and get rid of and take care of our get account, the easiest one. So I'm going to say face that size, and I'm going to go here inside of on create. I'm going to create a view is equal to layout inflator that from. I'm going to pass our context that we're passing from upstairs. Dot inflate resource is going to be r dot layout dot item face detection, right? So this layout here, I'm going to pass our parent and false as such. Very good. And at this point here, then we are going to pass a new view holder and pass our view. Okay, that's the contract. It has to go through our view holder, which then knows where the text 1, text 2 are, and they're all set up. Once we have that on bind here, we need to get just one face model. So face model, call face model is equal to, I'm going to say face model objects or list dot get, pass our position like that. And then I'm going to go ahead and say view holder or holder as it's called right there, dot text 1. Okay, dot set text. I'm going to say face model dot get ID. Now here's a crucial thing. If we go back to our face model class we created, model there we go. Notice that our ID is an int. This is something easy to forget, and we always run into issues. At least I do. So here, when we set a text, this requires a text. Well, whatever it's receiving here, its get ID is going to be an integer, right? If I click here, notice it's returning an integer. So at this point here, let's convert this to an actual string format. That way we don't run into issues. I'm going to say string dot value of, I'm going to pass the whole thing inside like that. Okay, So that is one thing to always remember, that setText always likes the text items to be shown. If you left as it is like this, we would end up having an issue when we were actually trying to upload or trying to show all of the text views with the values. This is indeed from experience. All right, so I'm going to say holder again, that text to, that set text. This time I'm going to say face again model, that get text. And we are done here. All right, so we don't have to worry about this again unless there's some errors. Very good. So at this point here, we're going to work inside of our main activity. So let me get rid of all of this. We might not need that. So all of the code that takes care of getting the image and do all sort of things, it's going to be in this main activity. Obviously, in a bigger application, you would put all of that in a different files and so forth. But at this point here, I'm just going to put all of this here so that we have everything in one place. Also, remember that there's going to be a lot of code, but most of it is going to be repetitive code. And some of the code I'm just going to copy and paste here so that you don't have to watch me code all of this. And remember, you're also going to have access to all of this code. And some of the code may be a little bit advanced, but once I explain to you, I'm hoping the first thing we're going to do here, because we're going to be of course, if you have questions, that library we talked about, we installed before, the camera library, right? So we're going to implement, so I'm going to say implements frame processor. Notice say frame processor is from where? It's from Otalia Studios, which means this doesn't come from Android SDK. It comes from that library that we installed. Okay, if you're not able to see this, make sure that you actually followed the instructions in the beginning where we installed all of these libraries. Very good. So what this is going to do is going to help us retrieve images. We're going to help us sizing images. We're going to help to do all sort of things that otherwise we would have to do manually by ourselves. So that is the beauty here. So we need to implement one method, which in this case is going to call the process. So notice process takes in the frame class. The frame class allows us to frame everything that shows up on the user interface. All right. So I'm going to say OK. And there we go. So this is where we're going to create the actual bitmap being an image. Very good. So we have that there. And at the top here, I'm going to create a few instance variables. So first one, I'm going to say private. I'm going to use the facing. Notice again, it comes from Otalia Studios, the library, facing class there. I'm going to say camera facing is equal to facing front. At first, as you know, new devices, they do have the front and back camera. So we are making the first camera facing to be the front. Okay, so meaning if you want to look at yourself and take a picture of yourself. As I said before, it's difficult to use the front camera on an emulator because the emulator doesn't really support that. If it does, it just shows a very generic emulation of a camera, but not necessarily a front camera. This will be more apparent if you run this app on an actual device. But in any case, we're just going to put all the code there so that when you run it on a device, hopefully it works fine. And next, I'm going to go ahead and get all of those image views that we added in our user interface. So I'm going to say image view, call just image view. I'm going to keep going here. I'm going to call the camera view. Remember, this is coming from where? From the library. And I'm going to call this face detection camera view. Say private. I'm going to just get our recycler view. I'm going to call this bottom sheet recycler. I'm going to actually invoke a bottom sheet behavior like that. Call this bottom sheet behavior. Say private. I'm going to create an array list which will contain face models. Okay. Face model array list, or I can just call face models like that. Okay, so on main, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to say face models. I'm going to just instantiate it, array list, because it's easy to forget. Our bottom sheet behavior is equal to bottom sheet behavior. Now, because we're getting that view, remember our bottom sheet, and I'm going to say dot from, and I'm going to get find by ID r.id dot bottom sheet. So I'm getting the whole bottom sheet behavior from our bottom sheet, right? This one here that we created. And I'm going to go ahead and say image view, find by r.id.face detection image view. Face detection image view. There's a few there. Let's say face detection underscore image. Perhaps I did not create this one. Let's go back to our content here. So our camera view should not include all of that. It should just end right here. Okay. And then we have our image view. And then we should have our button. And then we're finishing our layout here. And then I'm going to add another image view here. That's what I'm missing. Make it match. Okay, let's go and give an ID here. That's going to be face detection underscore image view. Let's make sure that's correct. Detection image view. There's a duplicate. Face detection image view, not camera view. There we go. All right, let's copy this. Yes, indeed, IDs are IDs. Okay, so we have that done. Let's finish this up actually. So let's say margin bottom 90 dp, margin end 16 dp. Let's look at this. All right, probably better this way. Bear with me there. Okay, so have this one. There we go. So, all right, I'm going to continue. I'm going to scale type. I want this to be fit center. You'll see all that. It's to bottom. I'm going to just make it parent. Okay. I'm going to add to end parent as well. There we go. To start of parent as well. Okay, you're going to see all of that actually showing once we have things going. And let's say to top of also parent. All right. It will all make sense. Very good. So we're able to get the correct ID there. I'm going to continue here real quick. Let's go. Let's get the face detection camera view. So I'm going to say find by r.id face camera view. Face camera view. Face detection camera view. Okay, so gotta get the correct ones here. Otherwise, you know the drill. I'm going to create a button here, our toggle button. Let's import that. Find by r.id dot toggle camera. There we go. I'm going to get a frame layout, the entire thing, because that's where it contains all the data we want. Sheet button. Find by r.id dot bottom sheet button, like that. And while we're here, I'm going to go ahead and say bottom recycle view. Just set everything up. Find by r.id dot recycler view. Let's go ahead and set up our face camera to set facing to the facing we just added, which is camera facing. We said it at the top here, it's going to be to face front. Okay, we can change to something else, but that's fine. Camera view again, that's set life cycle, because that's what needs. I'm going to say main activity that this, okay, and face detection camera that add frame processor, and we're going to also say main that this. Okay, so this we're just setting up here our camera, set up our camera view from our library, right, that we added. All right, very good. So we're going to stop here at this point here. Let's go ahead and give it a run and make sure that things are still working. Voila, this is wonderful. Notice now that something has changed. Because we are using our processor, our library, it knows to go and detect the camera and gives the user this question here, right? To allow the application to take pictures or record video, etc. So if I said allow, and voila, then I'll be able to click. Of course, nothing is working, but at least our sheet is working, sliding, and everything is good. In next video, we're going to continue setting things up and start putting together the actual getting the pictures and trim them and do all sort of things. All right, I'll see you next.